Hello everybody, this is Dr. Novak again. You know, I got thinking and I was talking to some ichthyologists that we kind of got talking and something came up for a good video. And that was fish that we buy. You know, accessibility is very easy and you never really see them full grown in aquariums. Now, some of these fish I have seen full grown are just about full grown. But that's maybe once in my lifetime. And some of these fish are very impressive when they become full grown. But I don't think people have ever seen them full grown. And I'm going to mention like 5 of them, for example, that either I've had myself personally or I've actually seen in aquariums. Now, I'm not talking about wild, I'm talking about in the aquarium. So people don't say, well, in the wild. No, I'm talking about in the aquarium. Now, what qualifies a fish for this category? Okay, first of all, it's got to be easily accessible, that, you know, you can see them at aquarium stores easily. They're not some esoteric fish that you never see, very rare fish. No, it's not one of those kind of fish. These are fish that are bought all the time. You see videos on them, people putting, you know, a whole bunch of them in an aquarium to get them bigger. And yet, you never get to really see them at their full potential when they're older and full size. For some reason, these are fish that either don't make it, jump out of the tank, die for some mysterious reason before they can reach their potential. But once they do reach their potential, they're incredible looking fish, and everybody out there would definitely buy them. The problem is everybody out there is buying them, but they just don't seem to get to their real potential that all of us would like a fish to get to. Another reason I think this may play a big part is sometimes it takes longer than what people want to wait for the fish to get that size. And to dedicate some of these fish may require their own tank. Some of them may require large aquariums to get to the size that they need. Others of them are today very rare compared to 2 years ago when they weren't so rare that you can get them that size. And I picked out 5. But if you can think of any, put some in the comment of maybe fish that you think that's easily accessible and that you really don't see them when they're full grown at their full potential. And that's what this video is about. We have 2 fish here that get confused. One is Mocausia sanctiformity, and the other one is Mocausia oligolepis. Now, these 2 fish can get very confusing for hobbyists. One of them is the red-eye tetra, and the other one is the glass tetra. And they look almost exactly the same. If you look at these tetras in books, in your ichthyology books or whatever, you will find out that both of these tetras look very much the same. In fact, I think a lot of these, the glass tetra is being sold as the red-eye tetra because they look so familiar. The picture you see here is a red-eye tetra. This is the one that people buy or think they're buying, and this is the common red-eye that you buy everywhere out there. On any store sells it. However, this picture, which looks like a red-eye tetra, also is not. This is a glass tetra. And you can see where the 2 fish can get confusing to the hobbyist if you don't know what you're looking for. The glass tetra and the red-eye tetra. Um, when we look at the two fish together, that you can see they almost look exactly the same. And the first name, Moecousea, they both have the first Latin name, Moecousea, and that is just named after William Moencausis, and he's the one who found these two tetras, so they both carry his first name. But the red-eye tetra, which is something that is a little different than the glass tetra, sanctiformia is the red-eye tetra, and oligolepis is the other tetra, the glass tetra. And the oligolepis, all that means in Latin is few scales. So when we look at the two fish, as you can see in the picture here, it'd be very confusing because the glass tetra can get 4 inches and the red-eye tetra can get up to 3 inches. Okay, I wanted to show both of them because I can understand where hobbyists would get confused with these two fish because they look so much the same, and therefore we need to give them Latin names versus just give them English names of glass tetra or red-eye tetra. They look pretty much the same, don't they? And but what I wanted to bring up here is you take these fish. Have you ever seen any of these fish full grown? Now, I have once only in my lifetime seen the red-eye tetra that we buy full grown of at least 3 inches. It was in a 125-gallon tank, maybe 20 plus years ago. It was in a fish store in Chicago, and it was a planted tank. Wasn't really brightly lit, but it was lit enough so you could see everything. And all of a sudden pops out about 4 of these guys, at least 3 inches, these red-eye tetras. And they were beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. When you see one of these fish full grown of at least 3 inches, it's just very, very impressive animal that you could put in your tank. Trouble is, you never see them this big. It's like, if you never seen one, you don't know what you're missing. They are really impressive fish. If you can see them anywhere between 3 to 4 inches, they're a very impressive fish. You never see them like that. I wonder if they just die on people, jump out of the tank, or people just get tired of them, or they're tired of waiting for them to grow up. They can breed a lot smaller in size, like 2.5 inches, 2 inches. So they can breed a lot smaller, and you see them like that breeding, even in breeders' tanks. But to see one full grown, the impressiveness of this fish and how big it looks in an aquarium, and this was a 125-gallon aquarium, it was a very impressive fish. But it's one you really don't see in people's tanks that are capable, or you can even see them at the 3 or 4 inches of which they can really grow. And they are super impressive. So I can see why these fish are popular, where people want them to get big, nice and big. But the whole problem is you never see them that big in aquariums. I have some in my tank. Hopefully they'll live long enough to get 3 to 4 inches. Second one on my list is Libotrophius fulbornii. And I had one of these fish, so I know how big they get. The males, as you see that front, this is a younger one, but that front becomes more pronounced, and I always called it the Jimmy Durante fish. Probably a lot of you don't know who Jimmy Durante is. You'll have to Google it, but for some of my older viewers, you'll kind of look at this fish and see its nose, and you'll think, yeah, I could see where it would be called the Jimmy Durante fish. Anyhow, this fulbornii, it's a very impressive fish, and it's one that this Babuna you definitely want to be the king of your tank because because of the way their mouth is shaped and their nose comes down, they really don't do a lot of harm to your fish for a mbuna. Mbunas will lock mouths, they tear each other apart. This is who you want to be the king of your tank because of the fact that he pushes the fish into a corner or into a piece of wood because he doesn't lock mouths with them. He's just a big brute. 9 inches or more. When's the last time you seen a fish like this? And this I had in the 70s of over 9 inches of full barney. The full barneys, you never see them that big. 9, 10 inches? No, you never see them that big. They're very impressive. Some people say, well, they're not as colorful as some of the other fish because they have some red in them and everything. But they are a very impressive fish when they get bigger, and they're definitely a mbuna that you want to be the king of the tank because they do the least amount of damage to any other mbunas when they do become the dominating male of the aquarium. But I've never ever seen another one since the one I had, which was in a 55-gallon tank, and he was king of the tank. He outdid the zebras, the kenny eyes, the elongatus, everything. He was just king of the tank, but he didn't damage up the fish from fighting and ripping their fins up. But this is another fish, I would say, you never see it full size. You see a lot of mbunas, they're good size. They could be like 6 inches or something. But this should get over 9 to 10 inches. This is a big fish. Haven't seen it since the 70s ever be that size. So that's my second fish on the list. Now, the next fish, the third fish on my list, is Geophagus bulazzini. Now, a lot of people will say Geophagus bulazzini. It's actually bulazzini. And this is a male. Think about this. This is a picture of a younger male. And you can see the front of the head, how it comes rounded. Well, as it ages, it becomes more pronounced. This fish will get about 9 inches long. So another big fish that gets 9 to 10 inches long in your aquarium. I've had these fish. And believe it or not, you got to wait a long time for them to get big and develop that head. I think most hobbyists get disinterested in the fish because it does take a long time to develop the head. The head could get very big, and it's myself. I had them for a while, from small, maybe an inch, inch and a half, got them up to about 2.5, 3 inches, and then I sold them off. It takes a while. Their heads just began to develop a little bit. I think because of that, these are beautiful fish. They really are. When you see a full-grown one, definitely this is a fish you're going to say, oh, I got to have it. It's beautiful for a Geophagus compared to the Jopari or anything else. This is a very impressive Geophagus fish. But try to find one full-grown is very, very hard because it takes a long time to develop the head. And I think on this fish, I would say you probably don't see many of them because either they're going to die before they completely develop, they're not going to be in a big enough tank, or the hobbyist will become disinterested in the fish because it is taking so long for them to develop that big head that they got. Like I said, this is a picture of a young one, but imagine that round part of the head becomes more pronounced, a lot bigger, the fins get longer. It's a beautiful, beautiful fish. This is, if you saw one, you would definitely buy it. Probably even want more so over the flower horn. It is that impressive of a fish, but you don't see it in a people's aquarium fully grown. I don't know why, you just don't see it. This is the fourth fish on my list. Horichthys cynogattatus. Horichthys just stands for a hero fish, and cynogattatus just stands for dark blue spotted fish. The common name of this fish is called the Texas cichlid. I've only seen one of these fish. The potential is 10 inches in my life, completely grown to 10 inches. Somebody had brought it into an aquarium shop fully grown and didn't want it anymore. And I'll tell you, I almost couldn't recognize what this fish was. It was absolutely gorgeous, unbelievable gorgeous looking fish, really, full grown. The picture that you see here doesn't do it justice, but the fine one that's fully grown, they fall under, I guess, the same category as your convicts, Jack Dempsey's, an old time fish. This is an American fish from Texas and Mexico. But for people to keep them where they're full grown and really, really show their colors, it's very, very impressive when you see one full grown and what they look like. I could see where this became a popular aquarium fish. Today, I don't know if it's quite as popular. It's been around forever, the Texas cichlid. And like I said, it goes along with your convicts and everything else. One of the old timers, but this one is just absolutely gorgeous fish when you see one fully grown. In fact, I had a look at it real good when I saw it in the aquarium, and the guy said, yeah, someone brought that in, to really look at it and figure out what the hell is this fish. And then I looked at the guy and said, is this a Texas cichlid? He said, yeah. I said, holy cow, that thing is beautiful. Of course, you have to have the tank space. It's not like other cichlids, like we see Oscars, or you see your angelfish, your scalares, or your autumns, or something like that. We see them full size, but to see something like a Texas cichlid actually full size in its full glory, that's a little unusual and very, very hard to find. Yet it's a readily available fish, but you don't see them full grown ever. So that made my list for number 4. Histoma kamikii, the pink kissing gourami. Now, everybody's probably bought one of these. When I was a kid, you used to buy kissing gouramis, and they were a neat fish to buy. And you could buy them sometimes 2 inches, 3 inches. Usually the biggest you see them is about 4 inches or whatever. Only once in my life have I ever seen one that was close to the 12 inches that they can get. This thing had to be at least 10 inches. It was in a 29-gallon aquarium. The people had it for a long time. In fact, all the fish in the aquarium had passed on, except for their kissing gourami, and I think there was a Cory catfish in there. That's all they had in there. This big, huge kissing gourami. You don't see, once again, kissing gouramis that are 10, 12 inches. You always see them when they're smaller. In the fish stores, in people's fish tanks. I've had them where they were as big as, 4 inches, 4.5 inches. That's about it, as long as I kept them, and then they maybe died off for some reason. But to actually see one in somebody's aquarium that's at least 10 inches or more is very rare. Like I said, I've only seen one, and he was the only fish remaining. And then, of course, once that fish died, they took the fish tank down and never had a fish tank again. But it was so old that they felt obligated to keep the tank going just for this one kissing gourami. So this is another fish readily available, but you never see it in people's tanks to be 10, 12 inches like it's supposed to be. I think they usually, for most people, they probably wind up dying off before they get that big of some disease or something or whatever. But it's another fish that had to make the list. I've only seen one that was full size, and that's why I put it on this list. That, yes, it's an impressive fish because you just never see them. And then when you do see a kissing gourami, it looks exactly the same as the smaller ones. But to see this big, fish, and immediately you look at it and you know what it is. Oh, that's a kissing gourami. But wow, I've never seen them that big. Did they get that big? So that's why it made the list. The kissing gourami, readily available, never get to see it between 10 to 12 inches. I've seen it only once in an aquarium of a hobbyist. Gymnocornibus tornetsii. And Carl Tornetz is the one who discovered this fish. And Gymnocornibus means naked head. So that is the Latin name of this fish, but the common name, as we all know, is a black tetra. We see these all the time, right? Come on, they got to be in every fish store out there. I thought I'd just throw this 6-1 in because it is such a extremely common fish. But let me ask you something. Have you ever seen this one full size? Did you know these fish get over 3 inches? I have once seen these fish at 3 inches. Believe it or not, they were a breeder. And once again, this is one of those fish that a lot of people will look at because it's not a real impressive fish, I would say, but a lot of beginners buy it because it's a hardy fish. But to see them when they're about 3 inches, very impressive. And to see a school them in a tank, I'm telling you right now, if you had a 125-gallon tank and you had about, 15 of these things full grown at 3 inches, it's impressive. Okay, it's impressive as any saltwater fish would be. Just an impressive fish when they get to full size. When they're smaller, I can see where people would get tired of them. They're just black and silver, and I was like, yeah. And the only thing they did was to improve them, was make them with long fins. I don't like the long fins one myself. I like the short fin ones, the way they come from the wild. But this is another fish. I just thought I would throw this in there. You see them everywhere. Have you ever seen them 3 inches? They're an impressive fish. It makes you step back when you look at them, and they're 2.5, 3 inches, the big size, and you realize, holy cow, I've never seen these fish this big. I didn't even knew they grew this big. That's what you'll say to yourself. Once again, easy fish to obtain. Every store sells it. But have you ever went over and saw an aquarium where these guys were 3 inches big? I mean, they're impressive. Very, very impressive. Well, anyhow, that is my 5 fish. I threw in the black tetra as a 6th fish. But let me know what you think. Let me know fish that you think people buy, but you never see it full size. And you never see the impressiveness of it. And make a comment why you think you never see them full size. I think you don't see them full size is one, like the Texas cichlid. I believe they're mean, they're nasty, they dig up the tank. I think people get tired of them, and they never let them get to full size before they dump them. Some of the other ones, like kissing gouramis, the black tetras, the red eyes, and I think they wind up maybe dying on the people before they even get anything near their full size. I believe like the full barney, this was in the 70s when they were getting mabunas from Lake Maui, and this was one of the fish they actually got from Lake Maui and had to decompressurize it and everything else. That is the reason it was so big. Okay, and you don't see them anymore that big. And bulazzini, that's one of those fish that are readily available, but I think people don't want to wait. They don't want to wait the years for this fish to really develop its head. And I think they may become disinterested, get rid of the fish, or the fish may die even before it can reach all maturity. because it does take a long time. I think that's why you get a fish like the flower horn. People are more than happy to pay $250 to $300 for a flower horn with its full developed head than to wait to have it grow and take time to grow. I think people become impatient. That is my thoughts on this video. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you concur with what I'm saying, the reason you don't see these fish ever getting the full size and why hobbyists don't have them in their aquarium. So that's it for this video. I just felt it would be an interesting video because I started thinking about it and started talking to the friends I went to school with and stuff, and I realized, you know, there are a lot of fish out there that you never see full size. I've seen people put them in tanks to get them full size, but they never show you and give you a scale of how big they are and impressive they are. Because like I said, most of these fish I've only seen once full size like that. Then after that you see them and they're nowhere near the size or impressiveness that I saw in my lifetime, which they really can get. Maybe another thing is they need large aquariums, let's say, to get full size, like 125 gallons or more to get these fish that full size, where maybe even a 75 gallon isn't enough. But then again, I've seen fish grow full size in 75 gallon aquariums, you know, whiptails, parrotfish. I've seen them, you know, goldfish, rainbow fish. You've seen them get full size, and they're impressive when they're full size. But why don't you see these fish getting full size that I just mentioned? So leave a comment below what you think, or what you think is a fish that people buy, but you never see it full size. You just don't see it. And give me your explanation, maybe why you don't see people with these fish that get full size. Is it because what I said, they wind up dying on the people before they even reach maturity because it takes so long? Anyhow, that's it for this video. This is Dr. Novak. Thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe to my channel. Until next time, happy fish keeping.